Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the NFL Scouting Combine, specifically wide receivers. So wide receiver is one of those positions I think is a lot of fun when the Combine comes around because, truthfully, athleticism at the wide receiver position is not the biggest deal in the world as some people make it out to be. There's definitely other sort of metrics that are actually more correlative to success than pure athleticism. But you do want to make sure that guys have at least the prerequisite athleticism traits. In other words, even Antonio Brown was a certain level of athleticism. Whatever wide receiver you're talking about, they all had at least some athleticism trait, a lot of times at least average to above average when you're talking about high quality outcomes. And that's what this video is largely going to look at. Is we're going to look at all the wide receivers that tested. We're going to look at the ones who did the best. We're going to look at the ones who didn't do so well, and just give some general red flags or yellow flags about their overall testing based on different sort of things. If there's any missing data, that's because they did not participate as well. So on the chart you're seeing today, some of the areas are blank or have DNP. DNP means did not participate, so they just didn't do the bench press, or they didn't do the vertical, the broad jump, or they didn't do the speed, the 40-yard dash, or they didn't do the short shuttle / recon, those other sort of events. So if you're looking at that and you're going, why is their score not here? That's because they did not participate in those particular drills at the Combine. They'll definitely go to their pro day and probably do those drills there, and then we'll have to update things as we go along. Now, for those that are new to the channel, all terms and definitions are going to be in the description. So I'm going to be talking about explosive lower body strength score, speed score, and flexibility score. And I'm going to leave all that stuff in the description. But first off, all you really need to know is the explosive lower body strength score deals with the vertical and the broad jump measured against mass density. The speed score is the 40-yard dash measured against mass density, which is weight divided by height. And then the flexibility score is the short shuttle / recon measured against mass density. Explosive lower body strength essentially deals with explosive lower body strength. How explosive you are out of your lower body is essentially what that. It's not about speed, it's about how explosive you are. The speed score, of course, is the speed score. How fast you are for your size, so on and so forth. Pretty self-explanatory. And then the final one is the flexibility score, or balance score, which basically deals with the ability for a wide receiver to have great core strength and great balance overall. Players who typically do really well in terms of flexibility testing are guys like Wes Welker. He was a guy who had fairly above average flexibility testing or balance testing. Slot receivers a lot of times do well. Alshon Jeffrey is one of those is a wide receiver who actually did pretty well in terms of balance testing as well. So there's a ton of different spectrums in terms of these athleticism traits. But the bottom line is that these are the athleticism data points that they track at the Combine, and this is just a way to kind of take all that information, measure it against how big they are for their size, and then compare it to every single wide receiver since the 1999 NFL draft class. First off, you'll see a little thing here. It says has all pro / Pro Bowl athleticism traits, and that's the very farthest to the right on the bar. All you need to know with that is, based on my data work since 1999, the vast majority, about 95% of all multiple all pro / Pro Bowl wide receivers since the 1999 NFL draft class had at least one 54 or higher athleticism trait. So the vast majority of high-quality NFL wide receivers had at least one above-average athleticism trait. And it could have been explosiveness, it could have been speed, it could have been flexibility. The bottom line is you want wide receivers, if you're talking about a guy with potential high quality, if that's what you want a guy who at least has one particular area that is above average for their size. And as you can see, every year when the Combine rolls around, the vast majority of wide receivers hit at least one All-Pro / Pro Bowl potential athleticism trait, which definitely makes it difficult as an evaluator to figure stuff out. But again, you have to go back to the film, you have to go back to the tape, you have to, wide receiver is one of those positions where it really needs to be more film-centered, more film-centric It's just one of those positions where you just need to put a little bit more time into production analytics and film analytics, really. And the athleticism stuff is just sort of like a check mark, if you will, in terms of them. But overall, in terms of guys who had the best combine, so I'll just focus on that. Just because I know a lot of people go, who is the best, right? I don't want to know who's going to be a potential good player. I just want to know who's the best in terms of testing. And at this combine, we had a lot of really good testers. Alan Lazard is a guy that put up 90 plus percentile explosiveness and speed. We also have Cortland Sutton, who put up, honestly, looks very Alshon Jeffrey-ish in terms of Cortland Sutton. DJ Shark from LSU, very good in terms of explosiveness and speed. DJ Moore, great across the board in terms of 90 plus percentile athleticism traits. Dylan Cantrell from Texas Tech did really well in terms of explosiveness and flexibility. Jake Weineke from South Dakota State did really well in terms of balance. Jaleel Scott did well in terms of explosiveness. Jalen Samuels, now I know that Jalen Samuels is listed as a tight end, but he's 6 foot, 225 pounds. In my book, that's kind of a wide receiver. When I watched him on film, he looked kind of like a wide receiver. So I just lumped him in here. If you're one of the people that looks at Jalen Samuels as a wide receiver, then he did pretty well in terms of his testing. Then, of course, we have Marcel Aitman from Oklahoma State. He did pretty well in terms of 90 plus percentile speed. Michael Gallup had a 90 plus percentile explosiveness. Simi Cobbs from Indiana had 90 plus percentile flexibility. And then the final guy is Traquan Smith from Central Florida, who had 90 plus percentile explosiveness. So those are all the wide receivers that put up 90 plus percentile athleticism traits. Just really, really, really good athleticism traits. If I was to actually go with a winner for the combine for wide receivers, I would definitely say DJ Moore is that guy, along with Alan Lazard, along with DJ Shark, and along with Jalen Samuels to a certain extent, if you view him as a wide receiver. But again, this is all the information that's here. In terms of like final notes and stuff like that, Calvin Ridley is a guy that a lot of people have been denigrating on the internet and saying that he tested poorly and terribly. If you do a composite score method where you take all the numbers and you put it into one number and you grade a guy, yeah, a lot of the data on Calvin Ridley is below average. Calvin Ridley had below average explosiveness. He had below average balance. His size isn't too kind either. He's not the biggest guy ever. So like if you're going to do a composite score method, yeah, Calvin Ridley's not going to look that well. If you actually look at everything from an individual statistic or individual trait basis, Calvin Ridley put up all pro / Pro Bowl potential athleticism traits. His speed score hit at least all pro / Pro Bowl potential in terms of his speed score. So I do understand there's a lot of people out there that are going to say that Calvin Ridley had this terrible combine and all this other kind of stuff. Bottom line is, yeah, he didn't do well in terms of composite score testing, but when you actually look at the individual traits, which I found individual traits is a little bit more important than just what their overall athleticism were. Wes Welker was a guy who didn't do well in terms of composite testing, but did really well in terms of individual trait called flexibility. Same thing with Antonio Brown, who didn't do that well in terms of composite score testing, but did really well, or at least above average in terms of balance testing. So my general look at athleticism data at wide receiver position is you shouldn't look at things from a composite situation. You need to look at things from a trait perspective in terms of each individual trait. And I think when you look at players from each individual trait perspective, you get a better idea about what they are as a player. And not only that, you will miss less on the position. Because I think to write off Calvin Ridley based on all of his traits combined versus the fact that he had at least one above average trait that's really, really good. You know, he tested like a speed wide receiver, a very good speed wide receiver. And what is he on tape? He's a very good speed wide receiver. So I just think that people are going a little bit overboard with Calvin Ridley in terms of denigrating him and kind of throwing him under the bus and stuff like that. And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification button so that you're always reminded when another video of mine drops. And if you have any questions about any of the data work that I've talked about in this video, if you have anything at all that you want to talk about, comment-wise, whatever, be sure to leave a comment, and I will get back to you as soon as possible, especially on these particular videos. I get tons of comments every single day, and so just make sure to make your comments specific, you know, at least as specific as you can possibly get. So just try to shoot for that, because I usually do best when you give like a very specific question. I usually kind of answer those a lot quicker than like an abstract kind of question. And of course, talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.